Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. I am your host, Sam Lopez, and today I want to talk to you guys about 5 pitfalls that most personal trainers make when we get our first personal training job at a corporate gym. A lot of us start in a corporate gym. I know I started in a corporate gym. Back when I started, it was Bally Total Fitness. For those of you guys watching the video on YouTube, that is my badge that I'm holding up from Bally Total Fitness. So I started Bally Total Fitness, and I also made those same mistakes that I'm going to be talking about today. So these are 5 pitfalls that most trainers, have and fall into when we are new. And so I'm going to talk about those and just things that you should be focusing on instead. Now, as we get into today's episode, the difficulty with episodes like today is that they require us for us to confront, change things that we may be doing wrong. It's hard for us as humans to accept that we need to change. So if this episode speaks to you, I ask that you remember that the entire point of changing is to get better, to have something that you want, right? You're not going to be able to get the things you want if you're going down the wrong road, right? Life does not work in that way where as long as you desire it, as long as you want it, as long as you think you deserve it, it might not work if you're taking the wrong actions, if you are falling into certain habits, right? So remember that at the end of the day, these are just mistakes that I know that I made. I've seen other trainers make them, but I know that I was making these mistakes and I had to change them in order to turn my own career around. So for those of you guys that have been listening to the podcast for a while, you guys know I have my own personal training studio now, but it wasn't always like that, right? When I got hired, I started at Bally Total Fitness. I started in a corporate setting. I had fun. I loved it. I have great memories. I made great friendships during the time. But most importantly, it got my foot in the door and I learned all of these lessons that I had to learn in order to eventually be able to continue to grow my career to what I wanted it to be, which was beyond, working at that corporate environment. But, it's a great place to be. Corporate gyms do provide you a lot of opportunities and a lot of experiences and lessons that you can take from that, right? A lot of the things that I still do today that helped me today, that helped me grow my personal training career, a lot of them happened right at that stage where I had just started working as a personal trainer. I was completely green. I had never sold a personal training package. I had never really trained a client. When I got hired at Bally Total Fitness, that was it. It was the first time I threw on a uniform that said I was a coach. It was my first job after getting certified. And so I was very, very new, very green to things. And that was just my experience, so I had a lot of things to learn, but thankfully, right, eventually things kind of clicked in my head and I realized, what, I am making these mistakes. I need to grow beyond them. So let's jump into them. And actually, before we jump into them, just a reminder, you guys, if you want to send in your questions, go to personaltrainerhustle.com. I like to always say that because, getting those questions is always a great way to connect with you guys. So Personal Trainer Hustle, it'll be linked in the episode bio or whatever, the info at the bottom of the episode. So you can just click on there, send in your question, and I will look at it and turn it into an episode. So you can look forward to that if you send in your questions. All right. But let's jump into today's topic, the 5 mistakes. So let's talk about mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 that you're going to make when you join a gym is that you are going to befriend all the wrong people. Okay. And why do I say that you're going to befriend the wrong people? Well, number 1, because I've seen it, but number 2, or maybe this should be number 1, I befriended the wrong people. Okay. And why is this something that I really wanted to share with you guys? Because it is very easy to befriend the wrong people when you're new because you don't know anything or anyone when you start, right? You don't know who's been there for a long time, who's new, who's good, who's bad, who's got your back, right? You don't know. But I'll tell you this. This is why this is a mistake that's so easily made when you are a new trainer. Usually the busy trainers are busy training. Usually the trainers that are not very popular are the ones that have enough free time to come and talk to you. And so usually the first people that you begin to befriend at the gym are usually the less popular trainers. That's usually how it goes. Also, you've heard this, misery loves company, right? And so usually the trainers that aren't doing that well enjoy talking to the new trainer, enjoy new ears to share negative information about the gym. Okay. That's exactly what happened to me. When I started with this other trainer. Both her and I were friendly, right? Because we were new. And right away, we both befriended these other two trainers at the gym that had been there for a long time. And they were fun. And, we hung out with them because we wanted to like fit in. And I remember that, I didn't really notice it, right? I just thought like, well, they're friendly enough. I had no concept of like they're being positive or they're being negative, right? I just knew that I didn't want to be alone in the gym. And these trainers are happy to hang out while this other trainer and I are sitting here. So they're happy to hang out with us. And so they gravitated to us and we gravitated to them. And before we knew it, we found ourselves kind of hanging out in the personal training area, hanging out in the office, right? Going down across the street to get lunch. And we found ourselves in their world. But thankfully, my manager, he caught on to it right away, right? I've talked to him about him in other episodes, but he was no nonsense, right? A Marine guy, no nonsense guy. He looked out for me even when I didn't want to hear it, which now I try to do with you guys. Like, hey, you might not want to hear this, but this is what you need to hear. You'll be grateful for it later. He treated me that way. He just gave it to me real. And he pulled me into the office one day, and I've told this story before, but for those of you guys that haven't heard it, he pulled me into the office one day and he said, Sam, who do you see training? Right. He was like, do you want to be a popular trainer? Do you want to have clients? Yes, I said. He said, who do you see out there training all day? And I named the names and I've named them before. And he said, who do you not see training out there? And I named the names and he said, stop hanging out with them. He literally just said, stop hanging out with them. Start hanging out with those people that you see out there on the floor. They're going to teach you how to get there. Right. And what was uncomfortable and what you might find uncomfortable in this situation as well is that I felt like I didn't have enough in common with the trainers that were busy. That was the difficulty in my mind. What I came to realize later is that they were actually the nicest, most helpful people that I could have been talking to. But I didn't see that from where I was standing. All I saw was, why are they going to want to talk to me? Why do they want to hang out with me? Why are they going to help me? Right. Clearly, they haven't talked to me yet. Right. Or clearly, they're too busy to talk to me. So I'm going to hang out with these other people. But I didn't realize that these people that had the time, it was because they weren't busy enough. Clearly they weren't that popular. Clearly they weren't that successful. That's why they had the time. And even worse, they were starting to fill my mind with negativity, right? All they did was complain about the gym and how old it was and how little they paid and how much it smelled and the manager and how the manager dressed a certain way, or the manager asked them to do this. And it was so ridiculous how the gym never gave them leads, how the gym overpriced this, how the gym didn't invest in that, how this company was going to go down the gutter eventually, right? They talked all this bad stuff about the company, about the coworkers, about the trainers. But I was new, so I don't know, right? I just, again, when you're new, it's easy to fall into hanging out with the wrong people. So you have to be careful. That's all I'm saying, because I almost fell into that trap. And it wasn't until my manager said, hey, what are you doing? Stop hanging out with them, that, that I changed. But again, like I said earlier, this is where you have to know what you want. You have to check your ego, because like I'm telling you right now, right? You can decide you're going to keep doing the same thing. You're going to keep hanging out with the same people. But if those people are going nowhere, how could you have the support and get the lessons from them that are going to take you somewhere, right? People that go nowhere don't know how to go somewhere, right? That's just how it is. It's a very basic, it's very obvious. But You're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of grief if you start trying to befriend people that are a little bit busier. Now, it is difficult because they are busy. It's difficult because it's hard to connect. But the one thing that people, when you have not succeeded in an area, the one thing that the people that succeed in that area, that the people that have not yet succeeded in that area know, is that the people that have done it, what we don't know is that those people are actually very helpful. They are actually very uplifting. Most people, and we don't see this in our society, right? Because we hear again from the negative, because those people, like, misery loves company. That's why usually the victims in our culture, the negative people in our culture, are usually always the loudest. And so we have this view of the world that is very negative, because the part we don't see is what happens to who you are and how you behave once you do achieve something, right? Those people have a certain way of thinking and behaving that a lot of people don't get to see, especially when you haven't gotten there. So what I'm saying is, the little secret that a lot of us don't know when we start, when we're struggling, is that people that have achieved have no problem helping you. They have no ill will towards you. They're not trying to sabotage you, even though that's what we think is going to happen, because we think, oh, they don't want the competition. They don't want to really tell me how to do it, right? They're going to hide, they're going to sabotage. I used to think that they were sabotaging me. When I finally started hanging out with the trainers that were more popular, they started helping me, like, approach people at the gym. They would say, hey, go talk to that person over there, that guy on the fly machine, that girl over there on the squat rack. Like, you should go talk to, because they had a feeling that, like, that person might be interested in training. And I thought, because my mind was still in that negative space, because I had never experienced hanging out with achievers, right? Up until that point, I had never experienced hanging out with positive, helpful people. So I still thought they were trying to set me up for a joke. And as time went on, I started realizing, wow, they've never actually set me up for anything. These people are just trying to help me. And when I realized that, my perspective changed. And what's funny is, you can see it even now with the podcast, even with the personal trainer hustle. I'm sharing with you guys lessons. Why? Because I have nothing to lose and everything to gain from being helpful. But now I understand why they were helpful. It feels good to be helpful. It feels good to help other people achieve the things that they want to achieve too, right? It's such a good feeling that you don't want to keep it to yourself. You want to share it, right? Just like negativity is shared, positivity is also shared. And so just be mindful of that, right? You have to be careful with who you're hanging out with. You have to try to hang out with positive people, with successful people, with people that have the things that you're trying to achieve, right? Right now, as a new trainer, you are trying to get clients so that you can create a client base and a career for yourself within that gym. If the people that you're hanging out with have not done that, then there's something missing. Now, it's not to say that there aren't some people that are busy trainers that are still going to be negative. But again, I would just say, either way, you want to stay away from negative people and hang out with positive people, or at least people that benefit from you winning. So, one of the people that I'm going to let you know that benefits from you winning, that is your friend, is your fitness director, your manager, or your salesperson. Why? Because they want to hit their targets too. They want to have more revenue. And so they're not going to want you to fail. They want you to succeed, because the more you succeed, the more the gym succeeds, the more they, as the manager of the gym or the director, they succeed. So if you're not sure where to start, try to get advice from your manager. Again, sometimes we end up with bad managers, but like, more likely than not, they will help you at least figure out how to get clients. Again, not everybody's a good teacher, so it's difficult sometimes. I understand. Sometimes you have a manager that does not communicate well, does not, teach well, right? They just ask you, "Hey, go do this," without giving you instructions. But hopefully, I can make up for some of that through personal trainer hustle, right? And just, you know, fill in some gaps, hopefully. And again, that's why we have the questions. You guys take advantage of the questions that you guys can send in. Let's say your manager isn't helping you out. Let's say you're in a situation where you can't find a trainer. Send a specific question in so that we can actually address it specifically instead of just hoping always that somehow you're going to find an answer to the problems. I'm telling you, just ask the question. So if you find yourself in a specific situation, just consider that. We might be able to cover that. But more likely than not, there's going to be successful trainers there that are willing to help you, that are willing to befriend you, at least in a professional way, and your director as well. So somebody's going to want to help you succeed. Get closer to them. I would rather you're alone and talking to the members than in bad company. Okay. Because at least if you're talking to the members or you're talking to the manager, at least you're putting yourself in a place you're going to win. Nothing good is going to come from hanging out with the wrong people at the gym. So that's pitfall number one. You start befriending the wrong trainers at the gym, it's going to go very bad. Okay. Or at the very least, it's not going to go well. It might not go bad, but it's definitely not going to move in the right direction. So remember that. Number two mistake that I made and that most trainers make, I went home too early. Okay. I would, instead of taking my breaks in the gym, instead of spending more time at the gym in the very beginning, because the environment was so uncomfortable, because, like we said, I was hanging out with the wrong people. I was still in it to have fun. Now you got to remember, I was a pretty young person. I was in a very, very early 20s. And I was still more concerned with having fun. I had not confronted the reality that I needed to create some type of success for myself. I needed to create some type of profession for myself, right? I needed to be a professional at something. I needed to have a career in something, right? I was still trying to figure it out. And so what happened was, personal training had a lot of flexibility in the schedule, which a lot of people love, right? We love that there's flexibility. But the problem with flexibility is that you end up being too flexible. You end up being gone too long and you don't pay the price. I would actually summarize most personal trainers' lack of success in this area, even trainers that are not working at the gym. Most trainers, we do not pay the price that needs to be paid in order to have the flexibility, in order to have the schedule that we want to have, right? A lot of us, and this is actually episode number one of Personal Trainer Hustle, only available on the on Spotify or the Apple what is it? Apple Podcast, but really any podcast player, specifically audio only. You can go back and listen to episode one. It was exactly about this, the flexible schedule fallacy. It's called, episode number one. If you guys after this want to go dive deeper into this, but it was all about how we want this flexible schedule. The flexibility of being a personal trainer pulls us in, but the problem is that in order to be a successful trainer, you still have to have discipline. You still have to pay the price. You still have to pay your dues. You still have to sacrifice, right? You still have to give a lot for a little in the very beginning, right? There is a momentum that you have to build. And so what happens is we fall into that flexibility before we achieved anything. So you got to remember that you only get to be in charge of your schedule once you've achieved something or once you have learned how to do something, right? If you can get clients at 6 a.m., then you figured it out. If you know how to get clients midday, you figured it out. But until you figured out how to get clients where you want them and when you want them, there is a lesson that you have to learn. And that lesson only happens by investing time into your craft because you don't have skills yet, right? That is kind of the what do you call it, like the teeter totter effect of this, right? Like the teetering effect of it is usually when you start, you don't have skills, so you have to make up for it with time and effort. Once you have paid your dues with time and effort, you begin to learn and have skills, and so your time and effort usually can decrease because now you're more skillful, right? I talked about this maybe an episode or two ago, right? When I started, I would pass out flyers manually, right? Hundreds of them with Sean. I didn't have a lot of skills. Once my skills got better, now we make advertisements and we're getting leads that way. And it doesn't require me to go out and talk to a lot of people. The system kind of works for me, but I didn't know how to do that when I was new. And so I had to pay the price for a long time. It's the same rule until I developed the skills over many years in order to be able to create a different engine. And even as I'm doing it, I have to put effort into that and learn new lessons. So What I'm saying is, point number two, the mistake that trainers make is we go home too early, right? We have not done anything yet, and yet we want to go home during our breaks. I remember again, my manager called me out. And for me, it used to come from the anxiety of knowing that I had to prospect, right? So at that time, around 5 p.m., everybody would get off of work and they would start going to the gym as part of their routine. So everyone knew, and even till this day, it's still some of the busiest time of the gym. You guys know that if you work at a gym. But after 5 p.m., people get off of work, they come to the gym, right? So the gym would have an increase of members coming in, right? And it would get full, it would get packed. There would be a lot of people coming in, people signing up for memberships, people training. And so my job was to be there during what we called prime time. This is when you had the most leads available for you to talk to, for you to prospect. And that's when I would choose to go for a jog. And I would spend some of the morning there when there was no leads, and then I would go jogging when there was a lot of leads, right? Because I did not want to be uncomfortable. I did not want to pay the price that was required. But the issue was that I didn't have enough clients to pull that off, right? Because once you are successful enough, you can come and go. I had not paid the price yet, and I was leaving before I should be leaving. Before I had any type of success out of that day, I was leaving. And my manager again, shout out to JMO. He called me out and he said, "Hey man, where are you going at 5 o'clock? Like what could be more important than this? You said you want to be a trainer, and I'm not, it's not word for word, but he's letting me know, you say you want to be a trainer, you say you want to be busy every time we have our meetings, you say you're going to hit your goals, and yet you're not here to do the work, right?" And a lot of trainers always fall into this, right? I remember working at a gym and I had my counterparts, I call them, right, other trainers that work there, and I remember that they would complain during the meetings as to not having enough leads, not having enough clients, but they were never at the gym. And I remember Mikey and I would look at each other because we would be there all day, right? And we knew that because we would work out, we would hang out, we would do whatever, but we were there. And we would always look at each other and be like, man, these people complain, but they have no idea that the people that have leads, the people that have clients, they were here while they were at lunch. They were here when they went away to go for a jog. They were here when they left early before prime time, right? We were here, right? And again, I'm switching the story to once I figured it out. So how I fixed this is I started being at the gym almost all day, every day, including weekends, right? I would put in 10 hours, 12 hours in the gym. Sometimes I would show up in the gym at like 6 a.m. before the sun came up. And then by the time I left the gym, it was dark again. Okay. And that was a period of my life that I was just relentless. I was willing to pay the price. Now, get this, I'm going to tie the whole story together as how things change once you pay the price. After I had fixed that problem, I became more successful. I had leads, I could close clients, I had clients, I was a busy trainer. One day, the director that was above the manager came in at prime time to work out. And he went up to me, he said, "Hey, Sam, you want to work out?" I said, "Yeah, let's work out." And this was like against the rules, right? Nobody was to work out while we were supposed to be prospecting, right? At prime time. But the director came because I was hitting my goals, because I knew how to sell, because I had clients coming in. He actually asked me to work out with him. And I'll never forget, it was one of those moments where I felt like I had achieved something, like I had changed my ways. It was like redemption from feeling the pressure when I had started, where I was running away at 5 o'clock so nobody would notice me. I was able to turn, and again, this was over many months, but I was able to turn it around, spend more time at the gym, and now I got to work out with the director during prime time when nobody else was allowed to work out, right? How things change when you do what you're supposed to do. Again, this is one of those things that I mentioned earlier, right? The people that have not yet achieved goals in their life, people that have not yet achieved a target in their life, they don't know what it's like on the other side. That's why that negativity is usually very loud with people that don't achieve, people that are not happy, people that are not pursuing anything, right? People that are not pursuing, people that are not achieving, are usually very loud because they don't know what happens when you do. But those of us that do can come back and say, oh, that's not how life works. How life works is if you pay the price early, later on you get benefits. If you pay your dues now, later on you get rewards. That's how it works. But most of you, most of us, because we don't know what's on the other side, we think we have an awareness that we don't actually have, right? I could not tell you this story if I had not gone through the mistake and gotten to the other side. If I never did, I would sound like all the other trainers at your gym. I would say, man, it doesn't matter how long you're here, they're still not going to give you leads, right? That's how somebody sounds when they haven't paid the price. See, they don't know. Oh, man, you know what? You don't have to prospect that much. The clients don't have money anyway. That's what someone says when they have not paid the price. For those of us that have, we can go back and say that's not actually how it works. I've seen it all the way through, and this is how things actually work. So I can tell you from experience that the mistake that most of you are making is you're not putting in the hours, right? And it sucks, but it's a reality. You don't have skills, you don't have clients, you don't have any reputation yet. You really have nothing. You're new, you're unknown, you're not trusted yet, right? You're not known yet. We haven't built a bond with you yet. And so you're having to prove yourself, and in order to prove yourself, you have to put in a lot of hours to get the knowledge and the respect of your peers, and to give yourself the best chance to succeed when your skills are not there, right? So I'll give you a little example and then we'll move on. When you don't have skills, you might have to rely on waiting around until a new client gets a new membership. And then you go downstairs and you meet the new client right after they got their membership and you say, hey, I'm going to take you through your consultation, or I'm going to set you up on your trial session or your trial week or whatever, right? Because you don't know how to approach people, because you don't know how to sell, because you're new, you might have to rely on sitting around all day waiting for an opportunity. But I'm here to tell you that that's just how we all start. When you don't know what to do, you have to pay the price with time. It's just the way it is. Now, if you don't like that, stay tuned because we're going to talk about something else in a little bit. But I'm going to drop this here. If you don't like that equation, then you need to get your skills up. But now I'm going to ask you another question. How many books are you studying? How many books are you reading? How many other courses are you taking, right? So, and even then, though, that's still not going to take away from paying the price. There are certain things that only work can make happen. Think about it like fitness. If I told you I have read all the fitness books and all the nutrition books, but I don't know why I still look the way I look, you would say, well, you have to do the work. You have to make mistakes. You have to do it for a very long time. You have to pay the price. So I'm telling you the same thing. No matter how many certifications you have, no matter how many sales books you read, no matter how many videos you watch, no matter how many podcasts you listen to, you still have to do the work. And guess what? Just like in fitness, the person that is in the gym every day working out is going to know more real life fitness concepts than the person that thinks they know them simply by theory, right? By just having an understanding of it, but never having actually experienced it. The person that has experienced it has a certain knowledge that no one else can have or take away unless they experience it. So that is what I'm getting at with putting the time in. Fight the urge to go home, you guys. When you're a new trainer at the gym, fight the urge to go home. We've all been there. Sometimes it gets boring. Sometimes it gets awkward. Sometimes you rather be having fun. Sometimes they're not paying you enough. This is most of the time. They're not paying you enough to be there all day. I know that. I just want to let you know, hey, myself and my trainer buddies, we've all been through it. You're not alone. The only difference is, can you be part of the group that can handle it? Or are you going to be part of the group that can't handle it and leaves? Right? Because that's a decision only you can make. I'm just letting you know that from my experience in my life and the experience that I've seen with trainers that are successful, the ones that can stay there more tend to succeed. The ones that leave early never get anywhere. That's just a fact that I have seen. So you have to decide how you're going to do it. If you think you're going to pull it off doing it some other way, whatever, like there's just nothing else I can say to you, but you are going to have to pay the price eventually. So maybe 10 years from now, you'll say, okay, now I'm going to pay the price. You could have just done it now. So, you're going to have to spend more time in the gym, and we all want to leave. Okay. You're not alone on that. All right. Number 3, big mistake that trainers make is that we keep hoping that someone's going to come help us. Nobody's coming to save you, boo boo. Nobody's coming to help you. Okay. Help only comes after you help yourself. I've been there. I've done that. I've seen it. Trainers that complain about not getting enough leads, trainers that complain about people not having money, people, whatever it is that your reason is for not doing well, it's an excuse and it's not going to get you anywhere. So if you keep hoping that someone's going to come help you, you got to realize that personal training and most things in life, but let's keep it to personal training, right? It is so competitive that if you don't want to do the work, someone else will get hired next month to do it. And if they don't want to do it, someone else will, right? Until somebody actually wants the clients, until someone actually wants to pay the price, until someone wants it bad enough, you're just going to take up some space until you quit, and then someone else will have a go at it. That is the relentless world of working in a corporate setting. And for those of you guys that have already worked at a corporate gym for a little while, you know, turnover rate on personal trainers is super high. Why? Because most people don't have the gall, don't have the discipline, right? Don't have the fortitude to fight for themselves. Most people don't know how to do that. Most people hope that someone else will come and help them. It's not going to work. Okay. Now, people will help you once you've helped yourself, right? The most help that I got was once I started trying for myself, right? Once the manager saw me out there prospecting and talking to people, then he would throw a lead my way because he would reward the effort that I was putting in, right? I was deserving of that, right? A lot of people think that they deserve things because they're suffering. You don't deserve things because you're suffering. You deserve things when you fight to get out of your suffering, right? When you fight to move forward is the only time that things will start to gravitate to you. But as long as you sit in your victimhood and you're complaining and your woe is me, as long as you sit there, nobody's going to come to save you. You have to start moving forward on your own. So, what is helping yourself? This is, like I said already, spending more time in the gym. Helping yourself is asking the manager what you could be doing to help. Helping yourself is reading the books and applying what you've learned. Helping yourself might be cleaning the gym when nobody else wants to clean it. Helping the front desk when nobody else wants to help, right? Walking around checking on the members when nobody else wants to, right? You have to make yourself useful. You have to try to succeed on your own, and then many great things are going to happen for you. But the big mistake that I've seen with new trainers, specifically in a corporate setting, is that they wonder why they're not being handed clients. That's the biggest mistake that we make. And I made it too. Like I said, I made all these mistakes. When I started, I thought leads and clients were going to be handed to me. I thought that people just came into the gym, signed up, and I just stepped in and said, "Hey, I'll train you Mondays and Wednesdays." That's what I thought was going to happen. Once I started, I realized, oh, I have to make the whole thing happen, right? So I have to go find the client, I have to train the client, I have to sign the client up on a package, and then I get to train them, and then I still have to renew them. And I didn't realize I was going to be doing all of that, right? But to be a personal trainer, you have to be aware that you are somewhat responsible for you as a business, right? You're not just an employee, even though yes, you are. You're also somewhat of a business, right? So the business has to rely on your little business to keep the entire thing going. If you cannot get leads, if you cannot get clients, if you cannot keep clients, then there is a leak. You create a leak in the company that they're going to need to fill in with someone else, right? They're going to have to figure that out because they cannot constantly lose leads and lose clients because of your presence. So that's a big responsibility, but one that is not that hard to fulfill if you just try, right? It's really not that hard to fulfill that because people want to get in shape. People want results. People love working with their trainer. As long as you're a good trainer, you're a caring trainer, you're a friendly trainer, you're a hardworking trainer, you got it. The problem is most of us can't even do that, right? You can't even just be hardworking and happy and friendly and knowledgeable. The bar sometimes, you guys, is really set so low that as long as you try, you'll be okay. Most people just don't try. But nobody's going to come help you. Not in the beginning. I mean, they might in the very beginning. This may have happened if you've already been working at a gym for a little while. Your first month or two, they're helping you because they know you're brand new. But in 2 months, they're going to figure out whether you really want it or not. And if they start seeing in you, because this is what people have to realize when you're a new trainer, you're coming into territory where the person there has seen it and done it already, right? Like it doesn't take me very long to figure out if a trainer is going to make it or not based on very simple behaviors, very simple attitude, right? How they respond to certain things. If I say, hey, can you help me with that? And I notice a hesitation, I can already start seeing that this person doesn't have it in them, right? If I say, hey, I didn't like the way you were doing your squats with that person, I think, that's going to probably get into their knees eventually. The response that I get from that person lets me know this person's going somewhere or this person is going nowhere because I've seen it so long. But the person that just started does not know, right? So what you don't realize is in the first 2 months that they helped you, they realized that you're lazy. They realized that you don't want it as bad as they need you to want it, right? Or as bad as you said you want it. Or they noticed you started hanging out with the wrong people, or they noticed that you started going home early, or they noticed that you are a complainer, or they noticed that you're making up excuses, right? Whatever it is that they notice something about you. So normally help comes right away and then it dissipates over time, right? Unless you can keep it up and keep proving that the help that people give you is worth it because you're really trying to get ahead. You're trying your best to prospect. You're trying your best to get clients, to learn how to get clients, to learn how to train clients, right? As long as you keep trying to improve, most people will keep helping you, right? But you have to do something for yourself. So, yeah, mistake number 3 that I've seen with a lot of trainers is just simply that they sit around thinking that someone else is going to do the work for them, that someone else is going to give them leads, someone else is going to sell them, someone else is going to renew them, someone else is going to, whatever, right? Like always looking outside, thinking that somehow magically something's going to happen when really, no one's coming to help you, but you will get help. I'm not saying that you're not going to get help. You are going to get help, but help only comes to those that really help themselves, right? And you can, I'm not going to go into examples, but you can see it in many things in our society, right? We can try to help, but once that person or group of people does not respond to the help, collectively we all realize we cannot keep doing it that way. It's just a natural thing that we all go through. You cannot, think about a friend that maybe keeps doing something stupid and maybe you told them once, maybe you told them twice, but guess what? You're not going to keep telling them forever because they don't want to help themselves. But if they do, and they say, hey, can I come stay with you? I finally did the thing. I quit the job or I broke up or I started, eating better. And now I want to work out with you. Of course, you're going to be supportive because the person wants to help themselves. We as human beings always gravitate to help those that want to help themselves. But we also organically, whether you guys like to hear it or not, organically, we give up on people that don't want to help themselves. And the few that keep helping people that don't want to help themselves create misery in their own life. I'm just going to drop that there because you guys, I have met so many people that keep trying to help people that don't want to get help. And eventually, sometimes that person ends up resenting you anyway. And they change when they want to change anyway. So they might still change, but it wasn't because you were on top of it all the time. It's just because they finally realized that they need to do things better, right? So it's a weird thing. Obviously, we're all different. Obviously, it's case by case, but I hope you can kind of understand the big picture here as far as sitting around hoping that someone helps you, right? A lot of trainers do that when they get their first job. I know I did it in the beginning. I was just a sitting duck. I didn't know what to do and nothing was happening, right? And it wasn't until I started approaching people, until I started trying to befriend the trainers, until I started asking my manager questions, until I started staying in the gym more hours, until I started reading more books. It wasn't until I started to move the ball, I got the ball rolling and then things started working. But as long as I just sat there hoping for help, nothing good was happening. All right. Number 4. Number 4, especially for you youngsters. Number 4, we get distracted by the social environment that we're in. So, mistake number 4 is the distraction of the social activity happening at the gym. When you work at a corporate gym like that, you meet a lot of people. A lot of people get introduced to you. A lot of activities get presented to you. You get invited to things. Sometimes you end up in places that maybe you didn't plan when you first got to the gym, especially when you're a young single person. I'm telling you, because I was a young single person, 22, 23 years old, working at a gym, meeting people, right? Fit guy, around all these other dudes and girls, and you can easily become distracted from the target, from the work that you intended to do, right? And I saw it a little bit with myself, and I see it a lot with people at the gym, especially with trainers, the culture at the gym. Most trainers end up getting distracted and losing sight of what they intended to do, right? Once they start having friends, once they start getting invited to things, right? Once they maybe get dating opportunities in the gym, it's an easy distraction when you have accessibility to so many people, so many opportunities, right? So people are going to invite you to come do this, to an acting job, to do a video over here, to go to this party, to go away for a weekend to do this thing, right? There's going to be a lot of things that come your way. And most of us are not strong enough to avoid all of them. But what I'm asking you to do right now, if you do want to succeed, is you need to be mindful of your target, right? Your target is to be a personal trainer. And if you get distracted too early by this new environment that you're in, because you're going to be around a lot of different people, if you get distracted and you lose sight of what you're doing, you're going to miss your opportunity to grow your client base. And pretty soon, you're going to be the trainer that doesn't have clients, that has to look for another job, that has to pick up a weekend job, a nighttime job, or an early morning job, or whatever, right? You're going to have to make up for it somewhere because you allowed yourself to get distracted. So, again, I told you you're not going to like some of the things that we need to talk about, but I am ultimately trying to look out for your personal training success, right? I don't care about everything. Now, if your primary goal is something else, then it's something else, right? But you can't be distracted, right? Sometimes people get distracted. You become a what do they call it? A slasher or a dasher? What do they call it? Right? Where you're a personal trainer slash actor slash YouTuber slash podcast because you want to do everything. And on top of that, have this social life, right? So a lot of trainers and a lot of people don't realize, like, are you trying to be a personal trainer or are you trying to be some type of influencer? Because again, if you lose sight of your personal training career, then you're going to take certain opportunities to go do these videos, to go whatever. And right now is not the time because you need a client base in order to build your career, in order to build a paycheck, right? The thing about being a personal trainer is you only get paid if you have clients. This is not a job where you just get paid hourly, whether there's work or not, whether you sit or you stand all day, whether you take lunch breaks or not, or whether you wake up at 6 or whether you wake up at, I mean, you only get paid a commission if there are clients. So you cannot get distracted in your first attempt at building up your client base. Now, once you get clients, once you figured out how to prospect, once you figured out how to train, once you figured out how to sell, once you figured out how you renew, once you got in good with your company and with your manager and with your coworkers, once you figured the game out and okay, I am a successful trainer, well then yeah, maybe you can venture off and do other things. But right now, you have to stay focused on the target. If you want to be a successful personal trainer, do not get distracted. What are your goals? Achieve your goals. And once you achieve your goals, sure, go have fun. And you can do it monthly. Hey, I have a target of getting 4 clients this month, 1 a week. Once I hit 4, I can go and hang out. Once I hit 4, I can go do that video. Once I hit 4, I can go on that trip or that thing that I got invited. Once I hit 4, I can go on that date, right? I know I'm asking a lot, you guys, and I'm not saying that I was perfect in this, but what I do know is that I could have moved faster had I not allowed myself to be distracted for so long. But being popular, being young, it was easy to be distracted, but I tried my best to stay focused, and here we are, right? So try to stay focused. Do not get distracted by the social setting that you are now in as a personal trainer. Mistake number 5, pitfall number 5 that I would say 99% of trainers make, and I've said this to you guys before. If you think you don't have to learn selling, you're slowing down your career. You are hindering the growth of your personal training client base because you think that personal training sales is not a thing, that it's just some people have it or some people don't, right? Why do I know you think that? Because I thought that, right? I thought in my first few months of training, the reason why I took all those months to finally get the hang of it, the reason why I had such a slow start was because I didn't actually think that I needed to learn how to sell. I just thought as long as I have a lead, I'll take them through a trial workout, and then if they want to sign up, they will. That's all I thought. If it's good enough, they will. And I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't hitting my targets again. Again, thank you to my manager at the time, Jay Mo. He called me out during a meeting. He called me out for not hitting my sales goals in front of everyone. And he reminded me in that moment that my formula was not working. And now, all of these years later, over a decade later, I am here to tell you to look at your results. How long have you been a trainer? Do you have clients? Do you have enough clients? Do you get clients consistently? Do you hit the goals that you have for your job? And if the answer is not enough clients, I can't get them consistently. I'm not 100%. I don't know why they don't sign up. I don't hit my goals. I'm worried I'm going to have to get in. If your answer is that, then you're falling for the trap again. And even you guys that have your own personal training businesses, most people think that sales is just something that some people are good at and some people are not. Or they think it's just something that happens if the person has money, they'll do it, and if the person doesn't, they won't. You it would be like saying that your certification taught you nothing, right? You didn't have to get certified as a trainer. I mean, as long as you know how to do push-ups and squats, you kind of know how to be a coach, don't you? Those of you guys that are certified would say no. You have to understand this, you have to understand your rep ranges, you have to understand your form. Oh, so there is more to it. Sales is no different. You think that you know how to sell, or you think that you don't know how to sell, or you think that you're just not giving sales. You were just not given the gift of selling, or you might be overly confident and think that you know how to sell. But if you have not studied sales, just like in fitness, you think you know, but you don't actually know how to do things and why things work the way they work. So the biggest mistake that a lot of people are making, this is number 5, I'll leave it at that. If you don't respect the sales process, if you don't think that selling is a skill that you can acquire, you're going to struggle for a lot longer than you need to. And I'm telling you from experience because that's exactly what I did. When I started, I'm going to tell you guys the whole story of how I ended up learning sales. When I started at Bally Total Fitness, they had a 3-day weekend event, and they called it onboarding, right? And what they did is everyone that got hired that month, they would go to one of the facilities. So you're meeting all these new trainers, right? There was like 50 of us when I went, and all of these trainers had just gotten hired that month, and we're meeting with the higher ups in like a conference room kind of, but it was just this big Bally Total Fitness where everybody was told to go. And so myself and the other new trainers from my gym went, and you meet trainers, and it was a fun experience. Just a bunch of new trainers, and we work each other out, but we also went through these lessons, right? This onboarding. This is what Bally Total Fitness is about. These are the opportunities, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Long story short, in that meeting, one of the classes was about learning sales. And the director, the same director that ended up being the one that I worked out with all those months later, still somebody that I keep in touch with, he suggested 3 books. He said, if you guys want to be successful, read these 3 sales books. And I wrote it down in my notes because I was very good. I was taking notes. I was excited. And it was over. And then I went back to work. Guess how long it took for me to go back to those notes, and guess how long it took for me to actually take his advice. I think it took me about 6 months. I'm not 100% sure how long it took, but it took me about 6 months of doing it my way, of getting called out by my manager multiple times about hanging out with the wrong people, about leaving too early, about not hitting my goals. right? I got called out. And I still would not go back to my notes, and I still would not order the books that he said until the day that I got called out for not hitting my goals in front of everyone. I got mad enough finally, and sometimes that's what's going to have to happen to you. It's these are what do they call it? Like moments in your life where you have to go left or right, right? A lot of you guys are going to opt to just quit, but a lot of us opt to face our challenges head on. And so I decided I was going to face this challenge. So he called me out. I was embarrassed, but instead of being mad, I did something about it. So what I did is I finally gave in to what they were asking me to do, right? My pride finally had to take a back seat. My ego finally had to be muted because that again, you guys are hearing me right now and you still won't do it. Your ego, because I know, see, a lot of us don't understand what our ego is. Our ego is not that we walk around with our head up and our chest tall. Our ego is the little voice in our heads that tells us, I don't have to do that. It's an enemy. It's ruining you, right? When you need to apologize about something in your life, right? Your ego is the thing that says, no, but I was right. No, but they should do it first. No, but they don't deserve that. That little voice is your ego. It is not this like arrogance. See, ego isn't arrogance. And a lot of us think that, oh, no, I'm not arrogant. Yeah, sure. But your ego is the thing that tells you that you can keep doing things this way without changing. That's really your ego. It's a very subtle thing. And so I thought that by being fit, by being popular, by being loud, by being fun, that's what it took to be successful. I had not put my pride aside to say, hey, those people can teach me something. So, long story, right? But that moment when I finally said I need to change, right? When he called me out and I was embarrassed that I had not been hitting my goals, I finally did the thing that I hope that you guys do eventually. I decided to change my behavior. I decided to go back and do the thing that director had told me to do 6 months prior during the onboarding. In the onboarding, he said, read these books if you want to be successful. I wrote them down in my notebook, and then I never looked at my notebook again, and I just started training. I was a trainer at Bally Total Fitness. I kept showing up every day. I kept talking to people. I got a client here every once in a while. I wasn't hitting my goals. I wasn't going anywhere. And finally, I went back, and I did the thing that I could have done when he first told me to do it. And I picked up some of those books, and I've told you guys about them before. I don't remember all of them, but I remember one of them was The Little Red Book of Sales, Jeffrey Gitomer, and the other one was a Tom Hopkins book. As long as you look for Tom Hopkins, you'll be able to find some of his sales books. They're a little bit old school, but you need to learn that stuff. So I learned, and I'm not telling you have to read these two books. You just have to study sales, okay? However you want to do it. Find an author that you like. Find somebody that you connect with. Maybe male, female, maybe black, white, Latino, whatever. Right? There's so many people that can teach you this stuff. But I finally went back and I ordered the book. I don't even think I ordered them because it was 2009 ish. So I probably went to the store and looked for them under the business and sales books at a Barnes and Noble or something like that. So I went, I got the books, I read the books, and within a few weeks of reading the books, the other trainers were asking me how I was doing it. Because that's how little trainers study, right? The fact that I took 3 weeks to study sales, I had already wowed everyone around me because they had such little awareness of sales and because they were doing the same thing I had been doing. They were not giving in. They kept telling themselves they either knew it or they didn't know it. They keep telling themselves stories. I don't know what we think, but we all fall into it. They were doing what I had been doing. The moment I changed, just a few weeks later, people were wondering what the hell I was doing. They were like, how'd you do that? They were so confused. I said, oh, I just asked them more questions. Some stuff that I already shared with you guys in previous podcasts, right? I was like, oh, I just asked them this one question. Oh, I just told them that this was the price. Oh, I made sure that I mentioned this before I mentioned that. Wow, right? Wow, but it's not wow. It's just, you know, learning the difference between a deadlift and a squat. Single leg, split squat, high reps, low reps. I mean, it makes sense to you when you hear it, right? Hey, I'm going to do 12 reps. It's going to feel this way. I'm going to do powerlifting. I'm going to do 5. I'm going to do 3 reps. I'm going to do 80% of my max. I'm going to do 60. I mean, if as a trainer, you understand what I'm saying because you've studied it, because you understand it, right? So in sales, it's the same thing. Oh, I asked this before I asked that. To the person that's never studied it, they're like, well, what did you ask them? I mean, I really don't get it. Well, if you would have read a book, you would know. It's really not that complicated if you study it, just like anything else that you learn in your life. Everything you've learned right now, you learned because you were exposed to it, right? Even understanding the words that I'm saying, the only reason you understand them is because you had exposure to the English language. That's it. That's it. And guess what? There are people that wouldn't understand what I'm saying because they have not been exposed. They have not learned. That doesn't make them dumb. It just means that they have not been exposed. Sales is the same thing. It doesn't mean you're smart or you're dumb. It has nothing to do with it. It's just whether you've been exposed. That is it. And how long you've been exposed. And as long as you've been exposed, you're going to understand. Just like you understand what I'm saying, right? It's not because you're a genius. If you had a little 5-year-old listen to me, they would understand what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that you're just this genius person that you understand the words that I'm saying. It just means you've been exposed. Sales is the same thing. If you expose yourself, you'll understand. If you don't, you'll keep thinking, well, I don't know. That's not a real thing, or I just don't have it in me. Whatever you say, I'm just telling you, you guys, if you respect your sales, your personal training career is going to change just like it did for me. All of these things are things that I was doing wrong. And thankfully, all of these things are things that I corrected, right? And the final one being finally giving in and picking up those books that that person recommended way before. I tried to do it my way. I finally gave in. I said, I can't keep doing it my way. My way is not working, right? Which is another lesson that I talk a lot about, which is like, how do you know you're doing something right or wrong? It's all in the results, right? It doesn't matter how you feel about stuff. It's all about results, right? And again, that's another thing that I really feel strongly about in our society, even, right? Just as human beings, we forget to measure things based on results, right? It doesn't matter how you feel, right? You can say, oh, well, I feel like I shouldn't read it. Okay, but what are the results that you're getting? I mean, if you're getting results without reading about sales, then that's fine because the result is ultimately what I want you to get, right? So what are the results? What are the results that you're getting, you guys? Think about that with I'm going to give you guys that just like as a thing to kind of ponder and think about, right? Next time somebody has a discussion about ideas, um, whatever they may be, ask yourself, ultimately, what is the result that we're trying to get? If you can learn to think that way, you're going to learn to navigate things a lot easier. Just in general, you guys, what is the result, right? So when as it comes to training, my goal, the result that would prove that I knew what I was doing was getting more clients. What I was doing was not getting me more clients. Therefore, whatever I say, whatever I believe, whatever I do, however I feel about it, doesn't matter because the proof says that what I am doing, what I am believing, the actions that I'm taking or not taking, whatever it is that I believe right now is not working. And so it's time to try something new. And so if I can just teach you guys to think that way, think results driven. What is it that would have to happen for me to prove that my thoughts and my ideas and my actions actually work? If I want to prove Sam wrong, let's say, what would have to happen for me to prove that he's wrong about this point? Well, I would have to be able to get whatever, 10 clients by the end of the summer without ever studying anything about sales. And then I would prove that his idea is wrong. But here's the reality though, and here's the other side of that. You also have to be willing to accept if it doesn't work, if you don't hit your goal, if you get 6 months later and you go, I wasn't able to prove it. Now it's time to go, okay, if that is still my goal, what do I need to change? I need to run the experiment again. And I feel like we have gotten away from running experiments, right? It's something that we learn in school, right? You have to run an experiment and then give it time and see if it works. So all I'm saying is these are the things that I lived, mistakes that I made, and the ways that I was able to look at my result and say, you know what? These people giving me advice, they're right. I'm wrong. I can say that I'm right, but the result says I'm wrong. So if I want to be a successful trainer, sooner or later, I have to do it the way that works, or else I'm going to be right, but I'm going to lose. Right. So for me, it was more important to win, even if I have to be wrong. Right. Because now I get to be at a place that I wanted it to be. Right. I get to be the gym owner. Right. I got to be the popular personal trainer. I got to be able to sell. I got to be able to have a podcast that I talked to you guys. Right. All of those things came only after I accepted that what I wanted was the result and not necessarily to have all of the answers, because nobody has all the answers. So the moment I said, I don't have the answers, I'm going to try it a different way, I was able to fix all of these 5 things that I was doing wrong in my own personal training career. So if you're a new trainer and you're making one of these mistakes, hey, now you're not alone. I made them too. And if you're not making them, more power to you. But keep trying to self correct here, because the prize of being a good personal trainer, a successful personal trainer, it's worth achieving the goal and the dream. But you might have to change certain things about how you're doing things in order to achieve those goals and get the benefits that you want out of this career. So those are the 5 pitfalls, 5 mistakes that personal trainers make when they are new trainers. I made them too. You guys, thank you for listening. If you have any questions you want to send into the pod, go to personaltrainerhustle.com. It'll be linked in the episode. If you guys want to pick up a personal training shirt or hoodie as a uniform, or something that you want to wear out to market yourself a little bit better, those are things that are also available at personaltrainerhustle.com. So you guys, if you want maybe to increase the chances that somebody at the store is going to look at you and say, oh, you're a personal trainer, can I ask you about this? Boom, you've created a lead simply by letting people know what you do more often. So for those of you guys that are lost with your marketing, right, where do I start? Hey, sometimes just putting it on you and saying, to the world, I'm a personal trainer, sometimes that's enough to pick up some leads. All right. Now, again, that's where the sales is going to come in right after. You got to know what to say, but either way, it increases the odds that somebody's going to say, oh, maybe I need to talk to that person. So just something to think about. You guys can pick it up at personaltrainerhustle.com. The shop will also be linked in the description of the episode. And the last thing I'm going to link in here is the YouTube, which we are now doing as well. So some of you guys have already gone over there and supported with a subscription. So I noticed that. Thank you guys for doing that. You don't have to do that, but I appreciate it. I know most of us are long-time listeners on the podcast platform, so you don't need to change that, but if you guys want to support the YouTube, you can. It's there, so it's all there. Either way, thank you guys for listening, and I will be talking to you guys soon. We'll be doing some more Q&As soon, since we got a couple lined up here that I need to get to, but want to drop you guys some lessons with you guys in between those. All right, so look out for that. I'll talk to you guys soon.